Welcome everyone to a really unsettling deep dive today. We're heading into the shadows, looking at a job that, well, it really changes the meaning of graveyard shift. Think night guard at a cemetery, but this isn't your average security job. Not even close. It's supernatural,
Yeah.
deeply so. And the voices inside, they definitely want out. Our main source for this is excerpts from "I work as a night guard for a cemetery, and the voices inside want out," which comes from Reno Sleep.
Yeah, and our goal here for you listening is to really unpack this. We're talking about the strict life or death rules of this job, the terrifying things the narrator runs into, and what it all means to just stand watch silently against these unseen forces. And crucially, we'll get into what happens when those rules get broken, because they do.
Exactly. It's this weird mix, isn't it? Like checking gates hourly, maybe saying hi to a coworker, and then bam, you're dealing with demonic shapes and people screaming their lungs out. It's
Mhm.
something else. Okay, let's dig into this. So, starting off, the basic job description sounds simple, right? Night guard, local cemetery, but the source is super clear. This is absolutely not for the faint of heart.
Oh, definitely not. And there are two rules, two absolutely solid rules that define everything. First one, gates locked, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. every night, no exceptions. Second, and this is maybe even more important, once those gates are shut, you never, ever talk to anyone inside. And you absolutely do not let them out.
Okay, never talk to anyone inside.
Yeah.
That's specific. And the routine is just check the north gate 1 hour, south gate the next, trading off with another guard.
That's the basic patrol. Yeah. But what's really fascinating, kind of counterintuitive, is why the guard is there.
Yeah.
You'd think security is about keeping people out,
Yeah.
right? Trespassers, vandals, whatever.
Mm.
But here, no. It's about keeping something in, maintaining this seal, as the narrator calls it. And the key is staying silent towards whatever or whoever is already trapped inside. You're a barrier, a silent one.
Right, keeping something in. And what is in there? The narrator talks about different kinds of, well, people or spirits, right?
A whole spectrum, it seems. So some apparently just try to chat, like normal conversation, sharing life stories and ambitious goals,
Yeah.
just passing the time.
Just casually chatting with cemetery residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then it gets darker.
Oh, yeah. On what the narrator calls unfortunate nights, some of them start screaming, desperate, pleading, begging to be let out. They'll cry that they aren't supposed to be in there.
That sounds awful.
It gets worse. On the really bad nights, the angriest ones,
Mm-hmm.
they escalate. They actually shift form, become demonic is the word used,
Mm.
trying to scare the guard into opening the gates.
Demonic forms. Okay, so faced with that, how does the narrator even cope? How do you survive that shift after shift?
It sounds almost too simple, but it's critical. The best thing to do is simply ignore it. Just total silence. It's not just following orders. It's like the only way to stay safe. The narrator points out that talking, engaging in any way, seemed to provoke whatever was inside. It did not care for the unwelcome disturbance.
So ignoring them is like a shield. They can't affect you if you don't acknowledge them.
That seems to be the implication. A really terrifying one, but yeah, silence equals survival.
And this vow of silence, it wasn't just a rule learned from a handbook. It was learned the hard way, wasn't it? Through some pretty horrifying events.
Absolutely. There are incidents that really hammer home the danger. The first big one involved a teenager doing something called the midnight run.
Hmm.
Apparently, it's this local daredevil thing. Kids climb a tree near the southeast corner, jump into the cemetery after lockup, then they run like mad to the north gate where a friend is supposed to help them climb back out.
Okay, sounds like a terrible idea already. What happened?
This one kid, 16 years old, he makes it to the narrator at the gate, but he's completely frantic, screaming. So he'll be like, please, please let me out. The voices, they won't stop. Please, help me. Just completely losing it, stuttering, terrified.
Oh, God. And the narrator.
Just shook his head
Yeah.
and backed away. Because the rule is absolute, no one gets out. The narrator knew the kid was, quote, lost to whatever spirits owned the night.
Lost. Wow. And the aftermath.
Grim, really grim. The narrator later had to hose the kid's remains from the
It
facility.
remains just, wow. Okay. That definitely cements the rule.
Yeah. And if that wasn't enough, there's another incident, even more,
Well,
this
okay.
rule, involving a trainee.
Oh, no. A trainee. This is where it gets really intense, isn't it?
It really does. This was the Bless You incident. The narrator was training someone new. Third day on the job, shadowing. And this trainee, he makes what seems like the tiniest mistake, just basic politeness. One of the spirits, or whatever it was, sneezed. And the trainee automatically said, bless you.
Oh, you can't do that. Based on everything else, that sounds bad.
Extremely bad.
Hmm.
The spirit's reaction. Instantaneous and horrific. It gave this twisted and gnarled smile that hungrily thank him.
Yeah.
And then, well, the description's graphic.
How graphic.
It involves the sound of the trainee's jaw being forced open by these charred, fleshy hands, seeing antlers and a jagged skull forcing their way into the guy's mouth, like trying to inhabit him.
Right.
The narrator describes the smell, bile, waste, as this thing twice the trainee's size tried to basically enter him like an egg being swallowed by a rat snake.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable. What happened to the trainee?
The narrator doesn't explicitly say survived or died, but the implication is fatal and utterly horrific. And the narrator's takeaway was immediate and final. It was the first and last time I tried to train anyone.
I can absolutely see why.
Yeah.
Just, wow. So it makes you wonder, what are these things that react like that to a simple bless you?
Exactly. It raises huge questions about their nature, their connection to, I guess, human interaction or maybe souls. It's profoundly disturbing.
Okay, so we have absolute terror, unimaginable sights, constant dread. Why on earth would anyone stay in this job?
Well, there's one very compelling reason mentioned. Money.
How much are we talking?
The pay is described as ridiculous. $1,000 per night.
$1,000 a night for 9 hours. Okay, that is ridiculous pay.
It is, but then you have to weigh that against the cost. The narrator talks about locking myself into hell for 9 hours and doing it for 14 years. You can feel the immense strain, the psychological damage, and the absolute pure relief described every single morning at 6 a.m. when those gates unlock. Another night survived.
14 years of that. I can't even imagine. Does anyone else last? What's the turnover like?
Insane, according to the narrator. Most people quit after the very first night. This makes sense. Trainees, often found just balled up in tears as teens point and howl.
So the job ads, they must downplay it.
Apparently, they're honest about the high pay, and they do mention potential for risk. But the narrator says they kind of let the reality, the sheer level of risk, be explained by the guards themselves, if they last long enough to explain it.
And the town. What do the locals think about this place?
It's interesting. The narrator says the whole town knows that there was something off about this place.
Yeah.
Everyone feels it. Yet you still get the brave and dumb kids trying that midnight run. But there's also this other side. Older men in town sometimes approach the guards. They give a firm handshake and slip a 10 or 20.
Right.
Like they know. They understand the mental toll this place takes on you. It's a sort of quiet acknowledgement.
A silent understanding that fits. What about, like, practical stuff? Benefits? Unions?
Yeah, some details are mentioned. Good 401k match, apparently 10%. Medical is decent, dental is shit. Classic. Free coffee, but it's always cold, of course. And interestingly, no union for the night guards. There's a mention of a previous guard, Eli, who started talking about joining SCU Local 1, that's a big service employees union, but apparently he got a raise pretty quickly to drop the idea.
Right. Get things quiet. So after 14 years, is the narrator thinking of getting out?
They consider it. Despite the money, the toll is obviously huge. But there's a catch, a new fear, the thought of having to train a replacement, and the guilt, the terror of potentially watching someone else suffer that visceral fate we talked about.
Wow. So staying is hell, but leaving means potentially condemning someone else to it. That's a heavy burden.
It really is. The narrator mentions worrying about a specific new guard, someone named Thomas. Thomas is supposedly up to the task and, crucially, knows to stay silent. But you can feel the narrator's anxiety. Will he really stay silent when tested?
And even after all this time, all these experiences, there are still things the narrator doesn't understand.
Big things, fundamental things. After 14 years, they admit, I still don't know what happens, what these entities truly are, what the ultimate purpose is. It's still a mystery.
So this deep dive, it's shown us this chilling world where silence isn't just golden, it's like the only thing keeping you alive. Where saying a single word can have consequences that are, well, barely imaginable.
Absolutely. And that core rule, that survival mechanism, comes down to what the narrator says. They cannot touch what does not answer their call. I know that as long as I don't beckon their embrace, I won't have to feel their otherworldly hands take hold of me. Don't engage. Don't invite them in.
Wow. Okay, so to leave you, our listener, with something to think about, what does this all really mean? Consider the questions that still haunt the narrator, even now. What would happen if those gates were ever left unlocked? Or worse, what if there wasn't a guard one night? What happens if that seal isn't secured and those forces inside the cemetery are no longer